Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jake, the scary story guy. Ooh. And today we're talking about... What was that? Did you hear that? Listen. Very original of me. And you know what else honestly isn't that original? The movie we're talking about, The Conjuring. But it's damn good. Conjuring is so good, in fact, that it spawned not just a sequel, but an entire cinematic universe. 8 movies. 8 movies total. And we're going to review all of them right here. Obligatory spoiler warning, although I can't imagine why you're watching a review of an extremely popular 8-year-old movie that you haven't seen yet. The Conjuring was directed by James Wan, whose name is pretty familiar on this channel now thanks to his involvement with the Insidious franchise. And I actually think you can make the argument that James Wan has been the single most important figure in the horror genre in the 21st century thus far. First of all, he created the Saw franchise, which has who knows how many movies and has grossed basically $1 billion at this point. He created the aforementioned Insidious franchise, which has grossed about $500 million, and he created the Conjuring universe, which at $1.9 billion is the second highest grossing film series in horror movie history. In first place is Godzilla, which even though it has a slightly higher total, it took 36 movies for the Godzilla series to make what the Conjuring universe has made in only 7. So yeah, James Wan is that dude. He also directed Aquaman, which isn't exactly a scary movie, although its 2.5-hour runtime was certainly horrifying. But anyway, The Conjuring stars Patrick Wilson's Sideburns, and Vera Farmiga as Ed and Lorraine Warren, a married couple whose idea of foreplay is casting demons out of their throw pillows together. Now, the Warrens are pretty interesting folks. Lorraine's basically a psychic, while Ed is billed as the only non-ordained demonologist that's formally recognized by the Catholic Church. The Warrens are also not afraid to have their good work seen before men because they go around and give a bunch of lectures and publicity tours. Now, before we go any further, it's worth noting that Ed and Lorraine Warren were real people. In fact, Lorraine just died a couple of years ago. But while the movie portrays Ed and Lorraine as this really, likable and sweet and romantic couple, there is a fair amount of evidence out there suggesting that the real Ed and Lorraine may have had some pretty intense skeletons in their closet. At the very least, they were complete and utter loons who took financial advantage of people who were scared and suffering. All this to say, The Conjuring is actually based on a true story, although the words based and true should probably be in quotation marks. It does make for a great movie though, so let's not belabor the point. So we open with Ed and Lorraine meeting with some scared college kids about a possessed doll called Annabelle. Now the actual Annabelle story presented here is fairly dumb, but it's a fun way to introduce the Warrens to the audience. They're very scientific about their whole investigative process, and they have a very clear, almost matter-of-fact understanding about all the otherworldly threats they might face. Most times they actually find natural explanations for whatever's happening, like rusty pipes or something like that. But they do legitimately come across crazy shit with some regularity. Enter Roger and Carolyn Perrin, who are moving into this creepy old house in Rhode Island, along with their 5 daughters and family dog. The dog dies on day 1, which they take that a little too well, all things considered. Maybe it was an annoying dog or something, because the dog dies and is promptly forgotten about by the entire family. Sadie deserved better, didn't she, girl? Do you want me to let you go? That's her let me go face. Okay, goodbye. I love you. Anyway, you know the formula. Spirits and specters are appearing all over the place. Doors are slamming, clocks are stopping, birds are kamikazing themselves into the house, and the Perrin family calls Ed and Lorraine Warren for help. One thing leads to another, yada yada yada, and then... Bathsheba!
By the power of God, I condemn you back to hell!
Let's go! Okay, as you may have noticed, I'm speaking about this plot as if it's nothing special, because it's not. This is nothing more and nothing less than the most well-executed, well-acted, beautifully shot, impeccably crafted, cliché horror movie ever made. This movie is a technical masterpiece. Everything fits together so seamlessly, not a scene, not even a shot is out of place. It's honestly one of the most impressive and immersive films I've ever seen. And the engine that makes it all go is the acting. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are perfect in these roles. Patrick's got that kind of classic leading man energy. Vera's weird and quirky enough that it fits well with her more supernatural role in this, and they're both kind of at the perfect level of star quality for these roles. They're established actors, they're captivating and likable, but they're not A-plus listers that an audience might be unable to look past. A horror movie just doesn't work if the star power is overshadowing Satan himself, you know? I'm sorry, but if that Bathsheba I condemn you to hell line is delivered by Leo DiCaprio, then I feel like I'm just watching Leo DiCaprio at Catholic cosplay camp. Whereas these two are able to fall into their roles so completely that you almost forget that Patrick Wilson actually has a contractual obligation to appear in 10,000 franchise horror films before his career ends. There's something really endearing about the Warrens' whole approach to their cases, too. Like I said, there's something almost scientific in how they talk about what's happening. And it makes the movie's cliched elements a lot easier to stomach. One of the horror genre's biggest flaws to the thinking person is, like, what the hell is this ghost or demon or whatever trying to accomplish here? It just slid a chair a few inches. Great. Why? For what purpose do you keep jumping out at me? But this movie's pretty methodical about explaining that possession by a demon can only take place after the victim has been oppressed, right? After the victim has been so psychologically beaten down and frightened that they become vulnerable. So these entities are expending what little energy they can muster in the physical realm to do things that they think will freak these people out. And you know what? They're not wrong. I also love how heavily this movie leans into its religious elements. A lot of demonic horror movies don't really take the theology seriously or even explore it in any meaningful way. They just kind of make some vague overtures to the iconography, like, oh, a cross, holy water, be gone. This movie stands in stark contrast. This is an unapologetic advertisement for Catholicism from beginning to end. At one point, the parents mentioned that they haven't had their kids baptized and they don't really go to church. And Ed's like, yeah, you should probably rethink that. Which I love, because, like, do I think the Catholic Church has some actual connection to God that enables them to fight demons? No. Will this movie be a lot cooler if it asks me to suspend my disbelief and pretend that it does? Yeah, you bet. Some people have even gone so far as to wonder if The Conjuring should be classified as a Christian movie. I would say no, for the simple reason that it's good. In fact, good might be an understatement. The Conjuring is one of the best horror movies of the 21st century, and that's really not even a controversial opinion. I'm going to give The Conjuring 4.5 stars out of 5. Guys, stay tuned for my next review in the Conjuring Cinematic Universe, Annabelle, which is a big step down. The things I do for you, my 45 loyal subscribers. And as always, if you'd like to read my original horror stories, I'll put the links in the description. Thanks for watching my video, and here's hoping you survive to see the next one. Never gets old.